Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the All Beneficent, the All Merciful. Nafsul Mehmoom, a heart-rending tragedy of Karbala by Sheikh Abbas Kummi. Chapter 27, relating to the martyrdom of our master Aba Abdullah Hussain, peace be upon him, and furthermore the martyrdom of a suckling child and Abdullah bin Hassan, peace be upon him. This is the section that causes the tears to flow, grills the heart, and scorches the liver of the believers. Complaint against this tyranny is to Allah, and aid is requested from Him alone. In some books of martyrdom, it is related that when Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, saw that 72% among his friends and relatives had fallen down, he turned towards the tents of his family and called out, O Sakina, O Fatima, O Kulthum, my salutations be upon you all. Hearing this, Sakina said, O dear father, have you resolved to die? Imam replied, How could the one who is bereaved by his friends and helpers not resolve to die? Sakina said, O dear father, then return us back to the sanctuary of our grandfather. Imam replied, Alas, if a sand grouse, which is a type of bird, is released at night, it will sleep in peace. Hearing this, the women of his family started lamenting, and Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, consoled them. It is related in the same book that Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, then turned towards Kulthum, peace be upon her, and said, I enjoin you towards goodness in matter of yourself. I am proceeding towards the battlefield in the midst of these enemies. Hearing this, Sakina started lamenting while Imam loved her extremely. He pressed her to his chest and wiped her tears and said, No, O my dear Sakina, very soon you will have to weep after me, when death will have surrounded me. Then do not aggrieve me now with your tears until the spirit remains in my body. Then, when I am killed, you are more worthy of weeping upon me, O the best of women. It is related from Imam Muhammad al Baqir, peace be upon him, that when Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, resolved to be martyred, he called for his eldest daughter Fatima, peace be upon her. He then handed over to her a sealed envelope and an open testament. Imam Ali ibn al Hussain Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, was ill at that moment. Fatima later handed over the letter to Imam Ali Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, and from him it came down to us. It is related in Ithbat al Wasiya of Mas'udi that Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, called for Imam Ali Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, in his state of illness, and then handed over to him the exalted name of Allah and the legacy of the Prophets. He told him that he had handed over the esoteric wisdom, texts, books, and weapons to Salma, peace be upon her, and had advised her to hand over those things to him. It is related in the same book that Khadija, the daughter of Imam Jawad, peace be upon him, and sister of Imam Hadi, peace be upon him, says that Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, apparently bequeathed to his sister Sayyida Zainab, peace be upon her, and during the days of Imamat of Imam Ali Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, the knowledge of Al Muhammad, peace be upon him, spread through her medium so as to conceal Imam Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, from the enemies and to safeguard his life. Qutbuddin Rawandi in his Da'wat relates from Imam Ali Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, that on the 10th of Muharram my father pressed me to his heart while blood was flowing through him, and he said, O dear son, memorize the supplication which Sayyida Fatima, peace be upon her, received from the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him, and his pure progeny, who in turn received from Jibra'il, and which was handed down to me, for it is beneficial for fulfillment of all desires in important matters, anxieties, harsh circumstances, and vital tasks. This supplication is as follows: Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. بحق ياسين والقرآن الحكيم وبحق طه والقرآن العظيم يا من يقدر على هوائج السائلين يا من يعلم ما في الضمير يا منفسا عن المكروبين يا مفرجا عن المغمومين يا راحم الشيخ الكبير يا رازق الطفل الصغير يا من لا يحتاج إلى التفسير صل على محمد وآل محمد. We, that is the author, say that another supplication of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, is quoted on the morning of the 10th, while a third one narrated from him on the same day, and which has been quoted by Shaykh Taifa, that is Tusi, in the supplications of the 3rd of Sha'ban, wherein he says, then recite the supplication of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, on the day of Kawthar, referred to the 10th of Muharram. It is related by Kafami that the supplication of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, on the day of Ashura is until the end. It is related in Bihar al-Anwar after quoting the martyrdom of an infant child who had come out of the tent that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, turned towards the right and he did not find anyone. He then turned towards the left and saw none. Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin, peace be upon him, who did not even have the strength to lift up a sword due to ailment, came out. Kulthum, peace be upon her, followed him, calling out, O dear son, return back. He replied, O dear aunt, leave me, so that I may strive for the son of the Prophet of Allah. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, saw him and said, O Kulthum, stop him, lest the world may turn vacant of the descendants of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his pure progeny. Martyrdom of the suckling child, Abdullah or Ali Asghar. His mother was Rabab, the daughter of Imru al-Qais bin Adi, and her mother was Hind al-Hanud. Sayyid ibn Taus says that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, saw the corpses of his youth and friends, he resolved to be martyred and called out, is there anyone who could defend the family of the Prophet of Allah? Is there any monotheist who would fear Allah in respect of us? Is there any aid who would come to assist us for the sake of Allah? Is there anyone who could rush to our aid in lieu of reward from Allah? The voice of lamenting of the ladies arose, and Imam came to the door of the tent and called for Zainab, peace be upon her, saying, give me my infant child so that I may bid him farewell. Then he took him in his arms and bent to kiss his lips. Hurmala bin Kahil Asadi shot an arrow at the child, which pierced his neck and severed his head. May Allah's mercy and blessings be upon him, and may Allah's curse be upon his murderer. A poet says regarding this, and the one who bent to kiss his child, but the arrow preceded him in kissing his neck. Then he called out to Sayyida Zainab, peace be upon her, to take him back. He filled his palm with the child's blood and threw it towards the heavens, saying, every hardship is easy upon me when Allah is the beholder. Sheikh Mufid says regarding the suckling child that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, sat in front of the tent while Abdullah, who was an infant, was brought to him. A man from the Bani Asad killed him by shooting an arrow at him. Azdi says that Aqba bin Bashir Asadi relates from Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, peace be upon him, that he told me, O Bani Asad, we hold a liability of blood among you. I asked, O Aba Ja'far, what sin do I share in it, and which is that blood? Imam replied, a child was brought to Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, who held him in his lap. One person from among you, the Bani Asad, shot an arrow at him and severed his head. Imam gathered his blood, and when both of his palms became full of the blood, he sprinkled it upon the earth and said, Almighty Allah, if you have withheld assistance from the heavens, then bestow upon us that which is better, and take our revenge from these evildoers. Sibt ibn Jawzi relates in his Tadhkirah from Hisham bin Muhammad Kalbi that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, saw them persistent on killing him, he brought the Quran and opening it placed it upon his head and called out, The Quran and my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him and his pure progeny, are the judge between yourselves and me. O people, how do you consider the shedding of my blood to be lawful? Am I not the grandson of your Prophet? Has not the tradition of my grandfather reached you regarding me and my brother that we are the masters of the youth of paradise? Then ask Jabir bin Abdullah al Ansari, Zayd bin Arqam, and Abu Sa'id Khudri, is not Ja'far Tayyar my uncle? Shimr replied, you shall shortly hasten towards the raging fire of hell, Allah's refuge. Imam said, Allah is great. My grandfather, the Prophet of Allah, informed me that he saw a dog filling his throat with the blood of his Ahlul Bayt, and I perceive that it is none other than you. Shim replied, I shall worship Allah by the tongue only, if I understand what you speak. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, turned his face and saw his infant weeping due to thirst. He took him in his lap and said, O people, if you do not pity me, at least pity this young one. A man shot an arrow at the child and severed his neck. Imam wept and said, O Allah, be a judge between us and those who invited us, having promised assistance and in turn killed us. A voice came from the heavens calling out to him, leave him, O Hussein, for he has a maid awaiting to nurse him in paradise. Then Hasan bin Tamim shot an arrow at his lips, and blood flowed from it. Imam wept and then said, O Allah, I complain to you regarding how they have fared with me, my brothers, my sons, and my family. Ibn Nima says that then he lifted up the child and placed him among the martyrs of his family. Muhammad bin Talha quotes in his Matalib al-Su'ul from the book Futuh that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, had an infant child. An arrow was shot at him that killed him, and then Imam dug a grave with his sword for him, and reciting prayers upon him, buried him. Then he quotes an elegy. It is stated in Ihtijaj that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was left alone, and none remained with him except his son Ali Zain al Abidin, peace be upon him, and a suckling child named Abdullah, he lifted up the child to bid farewell when an arrow came and pierced the neck, killing him. Imam dismounted from his horse and dug a grave with the sheath of his sword. Then he buried the child under the sand drenched in his blood. He then leapt from his place, arose, and recited elegies. The writers of martyrdom as well as the author of Ihtijaj say that then Imam mounted his horse and went for the battle while saying, the nation has disbelieved and have turned their face away from the reward of the Lord of the worlds. The nation killed Ali and his son Hassan the Excellent, the son of esteemed parents. They were filled with hatred and rancor and called upon people and gathered to fight Hussein. Woe be to the ignoble nation that assembled groups to fight the people of the two sacred sanctuaries. Thus they left while inviting others towards obedience of the apostates, opposing Allah to shed my blood for the sake of Ubaidullah from the progeny of the polytheists, and the son of Sa'ad has killed me aggressively with the help of an army similar to torrential rains, and all this was not in restitution of any crime committed before me, except that my pride are the two stars, Ali, who was the best after the Prophet, and the Prophet, who was the son of a Qurayshi parents. My father is the best among men, and I am the son of the two best ones, the silver which has emerged from gold. I am the silver, the son of the two golden ones. Then is the grandfather of anyone among men similar to my grandfather, or their father similar to my father? Then I am the son of the two best ones. My mother is Fatima Zahra, and my father is the one who fractured the back of the polytheists in the battles of Badr and Hunain, and who worshipped the Lord since childhood when the Quraysh worshipped the two idols and worshipped the Lat and Uzza together. And my father is the one who offered prayers while facing the two Qiblas. then my father is the sun, and my mother a moon, while I am a star, the son of the two moons. And he, that is Ali, displayed such wonders on the day of Uhud that warded off envy by splitting the two armies, as also in the battle of Ahzab and Fateh Makkah, in which death was the word of the day for both the armies, and all this was performed in the way of Allah. But how has the debased nation dealt with the two children, the progeny of the righteous Prophet Mustafa, peace be upon him, and his pure progeny, and of Ali, similar to red roses on the day of striking of the two armies. Then he stood facing the army with his sword unsheathed, renouncing life and heart resolved to die, and he was saying, I am the son of Ali, the chaste from the progeny of Hashim, and this grace is enough for me whenever I pride. My grandfather is the Prophet of Allah, the most eminent among all. We are the lanterns of Allah among the creatures, and my mother is Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her, the daughter of Ahmad, and my uncle Ja'far is known as the possessor of two wings, and among us is the book of Allah and has been revealed in truth, and in us lies lawfulness and the revelation proclaimed with goodness, and we are the trusts of Allah among all men, while we declare this in secret and in the open, that we possess authority upon the spring of Kauthar, and we shall feed our followers with the cup of the Prophet, which cannot be denied, and our followers are the eminent among followers, while the one who bears animosity towards us shall be doomed on the day of Qiyamah. Muhammad bin Abu Talib says that Abu Ali Salami relates in his history that this elegy is composed by Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, himself, and there is no other elegy similar to it. Although this world is considered to be pleasant, the reward of Allah is magnificent and meritorious, and if the body is created for death, then martyrdom in the way of Allah is the best for man, and if sustenance is distributed and assured, then man should not strive hard to seek it, and if the gathering of this wealth will result in leaving behind, then why should man be avaricious? Then he called the army for combat, and whoever came close to him he would be killed instantly until he piled up the corpses. Then he attacked the right wing of the army and said, Death is better than perpetration for humiliation, while humiliation is better than entering the fire of hell. Then he attacked the left wing of the army and said, I am Hussein the son of Ali. I have sworn not to run away from the enemy and defend the household of my father until I die on the religion of the Prophet. It has been related by some narrators that by Allah, I have not seen a more valorous man similar to him, who is broken by the death of his son, household, and friends. The warriors initiated the attack upon him, and he responded to their attacks similarly, and he scattered them similar to a wolf that enters the ranks of the sheep, and routed them and scattered them. He attacked the well equipped army of 30,000, and they scattered like locusts in front of him. Then he returned to his place and said, There is no might and no power except with Allah, the Most High, the Most Great. It is related in Ithbat al Wasiya that he killed 1,800 warriors with his own hands. It is quoted in Bihar al Anwar that it is related by Ibn Shahr Ashub and Muhammad bin Abi Talib that he attacked continuously until he had killed 1,950 men, excluding the wounded ones. Omar bin Saad called out to his army, Woe be to you! Do you know with whom you fight? He is the son of a pot-bellied one. Here he desires to ridicule Imam Ali, Allah's refuge. Omar ibn Sa'd continues, He is the son of the assassin of the Arabs. Attack him from all sides. 4,000 archers surrounded him and blocked his way to the tents. Muhammad bin Abu Talib, Ibn Shahr Ashub, and Sayyid ibn Taus say that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, then said, Woe be to you, O followers of the family of Abu Sufyan! Then if you are irreligious men and do not fear the day of Qiyamah, at least be noblemen and come to your senses if you be from the progeny of Arabs. Shimr said, O son of Fatima, what do you mean? Imam replied, I say that we should fight with one another while the ladies have not erred. Lift your hands off plundering my household until I am alive. Shimr said, Verily right is with you. Then he called out, Return from the tents and make him your target while he is a merciful match. Then the entire army turned towards him, and Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, asked for water. And whenever he tried to go towards the Euphrates, the army would attack him and turn him away from the river. Ibn Shahr Ashub says that Abi Mikhnaf relates from Jaludi that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, attacked A'war Salami and Amr bin Hajjaj Zubaydi, who were deputed with 4,000 men to guard the bank of the Euphrates. Then he entered his horse into the river, and when the horse put his mouth into the water to drink it, Imam said, O my horse, you are thirsty, as also myself, and until you do not drink, I shall not quench my thirst. When the horse heard these words of the Imam, he lifted his head up and did not partake of the water, as if he understood what the Imam said. Imam said, I shall drink, and you too drink. He extended his hand and filled his palm with water, when a person from the army called out, O Aba Abdullah, you are pleasantly drinking water while your tents are being plundered. Hearing this, the Imam threw away the water and lay siege while splitting the army and found his tents to be safe. Allama Majlisi in his Jala'ul Uyun says that then again he bade farewell to his household and enjoined them with forbearance and promised them reward and recompense, then said, Wear your veils and prepare to face trials, and know that Allah is your protector and support, and will deliver you from the evil of the enemies, and will make excellent your conclusion. His wrath will engulf your enemies in different trials, and He will bestow upon you distinct blessings and wonders in lieu of these trials. Do not complain and do not utter such things which would lessen your status. It is stated in Bihar al-Anwar that Abul Faraj says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, went towards the river, and Shimr said, You shall not go towards the river, rather you shall go towards the fire, Allah's refuge. A man called out to him, O Hussein, do you not see the Euphrates waving similar to the bellies of the fishes? By Allah, you shall not taste of it until you perish due to thirst. Imam said, O Lord, kill him due to thirst. The narrator says that the same man would say, Give me water to drink. Water would be handed over to him, and he would partake of it and vomit it. Then again he would say, Give me water to drink, for thirst kills me. This went on and on until he died. May Allah's curse be upon him. A man named Abu Hatuf shot an arrow at Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, that pierced his forehead. He pulled it out, and blood flowed upon his face and beard. Then he said, O Lord, do you see what I have to face at the hands of these evil men? O Lord, diminish their number and kill them until the last one, and do not leave anyone among them upon the earth, nor forgive them. Then he attacked them similar to a ferocious lion, and there was none who would reach him, except that he would split open his belly and kill him. They shot arrows at him from all sides, and he took them upon his chest and neck and said, How badly have you treated the progeny of Muhammad after him? After killing me, you shall not fear killing any of the servants of Allah, and killing me would make their slaughter easy upon you. I desire from Allah that in exchange of this humiliation of yours, He may bestow martyrdom upon me, and then seek my revenge upon you through means that you have never ever thought of. Hearing this, Hasan bin Malik Sakuni said, O son of Fatima, how shall Allah take your revenge from us? Imam replied, He shall engulf you in wars and shed your blood, then a fierce punishment shall befall you. Then he fought until he was inflicted with enormous wounds. Ibn Shahr Ashub and Sayyid ibn Taus numbers them to be 72. Ibn Shahr Ashub relates from Abu Mukhnaf, who relates from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, that the body of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was inflicted with 33 wounds of the lance and 34 cuts of the sword. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, peace be upon him, says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was inflicted with 320 plus wounds of lances, cuts of swords, and injuries by arrows. In another narration, it is stated that the number of wounds were 360, while still in another 303 wounds. And it is also said that the wounds numbered 1,300. The arrows were pierced in his armor similar to the thorns on the body of a porcupine. And it is also related that all the wounds of his body were upon his front side only. It is related that excessive fighting had tired Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and he paused for some time to rest. At that moment a stone was flung at his forehead, and he lifted the front part of his dress to clean it, that is the blood, when a poisoned 3-pronged arrow came towards him, piercing his chest. In some narratives it is stated that it pierced his heart, and he said, "In the name of Allah, and by Allah, and upon the custom of the Prophet of Allah." Then he lifted his head towards the heavens and said, "O Lord, you know that they have resolved to kill the one besides whom there is no other son of the Prophet upon this earth." Then he pulled the arrow from his back or chest, and blood started flowing down similar to a groove. He filled his palms with it and threw it towards the heaven, and not a single drop of it fell back. The redness in the heavens was not seen before Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, did so. Then he filled his other palm with it and wiped it on his head and beard, saying, "I desire to meet my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah, dyed with this blood of mine, and I will say, O Prophet of Allah, such and such persons killed me." Sheikh Mufid, after quoting the mounting upon the horse of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and going to the bank of the Euphrates, and martyrdom of his brother Abbas, peace be upon him, says that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, returned from the Euphrates towards his tents, Shimr bin Zil Jawshan, accompanied with a group of his accomplices, came to him and surrounded him from all sides. A man named Malik bin Bishr Kindi stepped ahead and started abusing Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and struck at his head with his sword. It cut the nightcap which he had worn and reached his head, while blood started pouring forth, filling the nightcap. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, said, "You shall never eat or drink again with this hand of yours, and you shall arise on the day of Qiyamah along with the oppressors." He removed the cap from his head and asked for a kerchief and tied his head with it. Then he wore another cap and fastened a turban upon it. We, that is the author, say that Tabari too quotes similarly, but says that he wore a burnous instead of a nightcap, and further says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was exhausted when a man from Kinda, that is Malik bin Bishr, stepped forward and seized the burnous from his head, which was made of fur. He brought the burnous to his wife Abdullah, the daughter of Al-Hurr and the sister of Hussein bin Al-Hurr Badi. When he tried to wash the blood from it, his wife perceived that it was of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and she said, "You have brought the stolen cloth of the grandson of the Prophet of Allah into my house? Get away with it from here." His friends say that he remained indigent until he died. Tabari says that Abu Mukhnaf relates that Shimr gathered 10 Kufan foot soldiers and proceeded towards the tents of the ladies of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and stood between the Imam and his household. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, said, "Woe be to you! Then if you are irreligious men and do not fear the day of returning, that is Qiyamah, at least be free-minded in the world of yours and be noble men. Keep your scoundrels and stupid men away from my household." Shimr said, "O son of Fatima, verily right is with you." Then he proceeded towards Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, with his group of lackeys, which included Abul Junub Abdurrahman Ju'fi, Kash'am bin Amr bin Yazid Ju'fi, Salih bin Wahab Yazbi, Sinan bin Anas Nakhai, and Khawli bin Yazid Azbahi. Shimr incited them to kill Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. He told Abul Junub, who was well equipped with arms, "Proceed further." And he said, "Why don't you proceed further?" Shimr replied, "Do you back answer me?" And he said, "Then do you order me?" They started abusing one another, and Abul Junub, who was a valorous man, said, "By Allah, how I wish to thrust this spear into your eye." Shimr lifted his hands off him and said, "By Allah, I wish I could strike at you with the sword." It is related that Shimr, accompanied by the foot soldiers, turned towards Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and he attacked them and scattered them. Then they surrounded him with severity, when a child ran towards Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, from the tents of the household. Imam called out to his sister Sayyida Zainab, peace be upon her, saying, "Take care of him." The child did not pay heed and ran until he reached Imam and stood at his side. Sheikh Mufid identifies him as being Abdullah bin Imam Hassan. The child said, "By Allah, I shall not part from my uncle." As mentioned in Tabari, Bahr bin Ka'ab struck at Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, with his sword, and the child said, "Woe be to you, O son of ill-natured man! Do you intend killing my uncle?" The accursed struck at him with his sword, which the child took upon his hands and cut it till the flesh while it hung. The child cried, "O mother, come to my aid." Imam took him in his fold and said, "O nephew, forbear upon this trial and consider it to be blessing for you. You shall unite with your virtuous fathers, the Prophet of Allah, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hamza, Ja'far al-Tayyar, and Imam Hassan bin Ali, peace be upon them all." Then he lifted his hands for prayers and said, "O Lord, hold back the rains of the heavens and the abundance of the earth from them. O Lord, then if you give them some more life, then dispel them, and take thou among them. Then make the rulers to be ever displeased with them, for they invited us to render assistance, and then rebelled against us and killed us." As mentioned in Malhuf, Sayyid ibn Taus says that Hormala shot an arrow at him, that is Abdullah bin Hassan, and killed him, and he was in the arms of his uncle Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. May Allah's mercy and blessings be upon him. Ibn Abid Rabbah in his Iqdul Farid says that the sight of a Syrian man fell upon Abdullah bin Hassan bin Ali, peace be upon him, who was handsome among men, and he said, "I desire to kill this youth." A man told him, "Woe be to you, lift your hands off him." He did not pay heed and struck at him with his sword and killed him. When the sword reached him, he cried out, "O uncle, come to my aid." Imam replied, "Here I am." This is a voice of the one who possesses less companions and abundant murderers. Imam attacked his murderer while severing his hand and with another stroke killed him. I, that is the author, say that Ibn Abid Rabbah has clearly committed error and has identified Abdullah bin Hassan instead of Qasim bin Hassan, whose martyrdom has already been discussed. Tabari says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, then attacked the foot soldiers and pushed them away from him. Sheikh Mufid says that the foot soldiers attacked the companions of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, from the left and right sides and killed them until 3 to 4 men remained with him. Tabari and Ibn Asir Jazari quote similarly and say that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was left with 3 or 4 men. He called out for a long fringed shirt that dazzled the eyes. It was of Yemeni origin and minutely stitched. He tore it from some side so that it could not be removed off his body. One of his companions said, "I wish you wore breeches underneath your clothes." Imam replied, "It is a garment of disgrace, and wearing it is not befitting me." It is said that when he was killed, Bahr bin Ka'b robbed the shirt away from his body, leaving it bare. Azdi says that Amr bin Shu'aib relates from Muhammad bin Abdurrahman that both the hands of Bahr bin Ka'b would ooze out pus in the winters, and in the summers it would turn dry, similar to wooden sticks. Sayyid ibn Taus says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, said, "Bring me a garment which I may wear below my dress, so that they may not bear me." Breeches were brought for him, and he said, "This is the dress of the disgraceful ones." Then he called for a worn-out shirt, and tearing it, wore it below his dress. When he was martyred, it was removed of his body. Sheikh Mufid says that when only 3 men remained with Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, he turned towards the enemies while the 3 men defended him and warded off the army away from him until they were martyred and Imam was left alone. He was wounded upon the head and body. He then attacked them from the left and right side and scattered them. Hamid bin Muslim says that by Allah, I have not seen a shattered person more valorous than him whose sons, family, and friends have been killed, yet his heart being invincible. The foot soldiers attacked him, and he faced them similar to a wolf who attacks the sheep and scatters them to the right and left. When Shimr saw this, he called for the cavalry and stationed them behind the front line of the foot soldiers. Then he commanded the archers to shoot their arrows at him, and such number of arrows pierced his body that it looked similar to a porcupine. Then he lifted his hands off them, and they came and stood facing him. Zainab, peace be upon her, came to the door of the tents and called out to Omar bin Saad, "Woe be to you, O Omar bin Saad! Abu Abdullah is being killed. Why you behold?" He did not reply, and she said, "Woe be to you! Is there not a Muslim amongst you?" But again none replied. Tabari says that Omar bin Saad neared Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and Zainab, peace be upon her, said, "O Omar bin Saad, Abu Abdullah is being killed while you behold." The narrator says that it is as if I see tears flowing upon his cheeks and beard while he turned his face away from Zainab, peace be upon her. Sayyid ibn Taus says that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was exhausted by numerous wounds and he looked similar to a porcupine, Salih bin Wahab Yazni thrust a lance at his flank and he fell on his left cheek upon the ground from the horse's back. Then he said, "In the name of Allah and by Allah and upon the creed of the Prophet of Allah." Then he stood up. The narrator says that Sayyida Zainab, peace be upon her, came out of the door of the tent calling out, "O my brother, O my master, O my family, I wish the heavens would fall upon the earth, and I wish the mountains would scatter upon the desert." It is related that Shimr called out to his companions, "Why are you waiting for this man?" Then they attacked him from all sides. Hamid bin Muslim says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, had worn a fur cloak and a turban upon his head, while his hair was dyed with wasma. I heard him say before he was martyred, when he was on foot, but fought as if he was mounted, and defended himself from the arrows, while the cavalry was splitted from all sides, and he attacked them with the sword. "You conspire together against me. By Allah, after me you shall not kill anyone else by whose murder Allah would have been more wrathful towards you. By Allah, I desire that Allah cherish me in lieu of this contempt of yours, and He may take my revenge from you through means of which you are unaware. Beware, by Allah, if you kill me, Allah too shall kill you and shed your blood. Then he shall not lift his hands off you until he doubles the grievous punishment." It is related that he remained alive for a lengthy period of time that day, and if the army had desired, they would have killed him, but they considered one another for it, and each group desired that the other would kill him. Shimr called out in their midst, "What do you have to wait for? Kill this man, may your mothers mourn upon you." Thus they attacked him from all sides. Sheikh Mufid says that Zara bin Sharik severed his left arm and struck at his shoulder with his sword, and he fell down upon his face. Tabari says that then they retreated back, and he was in a very bad state, and he would rise and fall. At this moment, Sinan bin Anas bin Amr Nakhai hit him with a lance and threw him upon the ground. Sheikh Mufid and Tabarsi say that Khuli bin Yazid al-Asbahi came forward hastily and alighted from his horse to sever his head, but he trembled. Shimr said, May Allah break your hands. Why do you tremble? Then he alighted from the horse and beheaded him. Abul Abbas Ahmad bin Yusuf Damashqi Kirmani, who died in the year 1019 after Hijrah, says in Akhbar al-Dawl that thirst became intense upon Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and they did not give him water to drink. A cup of water came to his hand, and when he bent to drink it, Hasin bin Namir shot an arrow at him, which pierced his chin, and the cup became full of blood. He then lifted his hands towards the heavens and said, O Allah, lessen their quantity, kill each one of them, and do not spare a single one from them upon the earth. Then they attacked him from all sides, and he flaunted upon them from the left and right side, until Zara bin Sharik struck at his left hand with the sword and entered another into his shoulder. Then Sinan bin Anas thrust a lance into his body, throwing him down. Shimr then alighted from his horse and beheaded him, and handed it over to Khuli Azbahi. Then they looted his clothes. Dainuri says that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was thirsty and asked for a cup of water, and when he lifted it up unto his lips, Hasin bin Namir shot an arrow at his mouth, and he could not drink it. Then he kept the cup upon the ground. I, that is the author, say that it is related in the narrative by Sayyid ibn Taus, ibn Nima, Sheikh Saduq, Tabari, ibn Asir Jazari, ibn Abdul Bir, Mas'udi, and Abul Faraj that Sinan bin Anas the accursed beheaded him. Sayyid ibn Taus says that Sinan came forward and said, Although I know that he is the grandson of the Prophet of Allah and his parents are the best among humans, I shall behead him. Then he struck at his blessed neck with his sword and severed his sacred and honorable head. A poet says regarding it, and what other disaster can be greater than that of Hussein when the hands of Sinan were killing him? Abu Tahir Muhammad bin Hassan or Hussein, Barasi or Narasi says in Ma'alimuddin that Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, said that when Imam Hussein's matter reached this stage, the angel started lamenting in the audience of Allah and said, O Lord, this Hussein is your guest, he is the grandson of your Prophet. Then Allah created an image of Imam al-Qaim, may Allah hasten his reappearance, and said, I shall seek revenge from them through his medium. It is related that Mukhtar arrested Sinan and severed each of his fingers one after the other. Then he cut off his hands and feet and flung him into a large vessel in which olive oil was boiling hot. The narrator says that at the moment when they beheaded Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, a violent and dark hurricane erupted, engulfing the entire horizon into darkness. Then a red storm blew, and nothing could be seen, while the army presumed that the curse of Allah had descended. This continued for an hour and then ceased. Hilal bin Nafi says that I was standing along with the companions of Omar bin Sa'ad, and someone called out, O commander, have glad tidings that Shimr has killed Hussein. I then went to the spot of his martyrdom and stood at his side, and he was dying. By Allah, I have never seen a better corpse, drenched in blood than his, and a face more illuminated than his, while the light of his countenance and his formidable beauty made me forget his death. In this state he asked for water, and a man said to him, By Allah, you shall not partake it until you enter the raging fire of hell, Allah's refuge. I heard Imam say, Woe be to you, I am not proceeding towards the raging fire, nor shall I taste the boiling water therein. Rather, I am going to the presence of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him and his pure progeny, and I shall be residing in his place of the truthful residue in the shelter of Allah the Almighty, and I shall drink of the pure water, and then I shall complain to him regarding what you did to me. Hearing this, all of them became enraged, as if they had no mercy in their hearts, and in this very state, while he was speaking to them, they beheaded him. I was astonished at their ruthlessness and said, I shall never ever accompany you in any task from now. Kamaluddin Muhammad bin Talha says in his Matalibus Su'ul that the head of the grandson and the beloved of the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him, and his pure progeny, was severed with a sharp sword. Then they raised his head upon the lance, as is done with the apostates, and they paraded it in the midst of the slaves of Allah in the cities, and they led his family and the children in a state of disrespect, and mounted them upon the shaft of the camel without saddle or seat, in spite of knowing that they were the progeny of the Prophet, while their love was incumbent as specified by the Quran and the true faith. If the heavens and the earth would have the power to speak, they would have bemoaned and lamented upon them, and if the disbelievers had been aware of it, they would have wept upon them and lamented. While if the obstinate ones of the age of ignorance would have been present, they too would have wept upon them, and would have condoled one another upon their martyrdom. And if the oppressive tyrants had been present at the episode of his martyrdom, they would have assisted and aided him. Woe be upon this catastrophe which has afflicted the hearts of the God fearing, and remained as an inheritance for them. Woe be upon the calamity which has aggrieved the hearts of the believers, and pained those who shall come in the future. Alas upon the progeny of the Prophet, whose blood was shed, and upon the family of Muhammad, whose swords had decelerated, and alas upon the Alawites, who were left deprived of aid, and their masters being killed. Alas upon the Hashemites, whose sanctity was violated, and shedding of whose blood was considered lawful. It is related in Nawadir from Ali bin al-Asbat, who relates from some of his companions that Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, peace be upon him, said that on the 10th of Muharram, my father Imam Zain al-Abidin, peace be upon him, was very ill and was inside the tent. I saw my friends walking to and fro along with Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, and bringing water for him. Once he attacked the right wing of the army, and then the left wing, while once the central part. They killed him in a manner that the Prophet had prohibited them to slaughter an animal. They killed him with swords, lances, stones, sticks, and batons. Then they trampled his body by the horses' hoofs. I, that is the author, say that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was martyred on Friday, the 10th of Muharram, 61st year after migration, that is Hijrah, after the prayer of Zuhr. He was 57 years of age. In another narration, it is related that he was martyred on Saturday or Monday, but the more accurate one seems to be Friday. Abul Faraj Isfahani says that what has been related by the Amma, that is the non-Shia, regarding the day of Monday is an error and is not supported by any narration. This is so because the first day of Muharram, the month in which the martyrdom occurred, according to the conclusion from all astronomical deductions by the procedure of Indian calculations, fell on Wednesday. Hence, the 10th cannot be on Monday but on Friday, and this itself is an evidence for truth that confirms the narration. Sheikh Mufid, in context of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, on the 10th of Muharram, says that at the dawn of Friday, while some others say Saturday, Omar bin Saad mobilized his forces, and according to the previous report, it is evident that it was Friday. And in context of his entering Karbala, Sheikh Mufid says that then he came forward, and that was on Thursday, the second of the month of Muharram, 61st year of migration, that is Hijrah. It is narrated in Tazkirah of Sibt ibn Jawzi that Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was martyred on Friday in between the prayers of Zuhr and Asr, for he had recited the Salatul Khawf along with his companions, while some say that it was Saturday, which we have already discussed. In the same book, it is mentioned that there are numerous reports regarding his murderer. Hisham bin Muhammad Kalbi says that it was Sinan bin Anas Nakhai. The other one who is named is Hasin bin Namir, who shot an arrow at him and came forward and beheaded him. Then he hung it in the neck of his horse so as to be endeared by Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. The third name being that of Muhajir bin Aus Tamimi, the fourth one Kasir bin Abdullah Sha'bi, the fifth Shimr bin Ziljawshan. We say that the sixth one who is named is Khawli bin Yazid Azbahi. Allah's curse be upon all the murderers of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. Muhammad bin Talha Shafi'i and Ali bin Isa Irbili Imami say that Omar bin Saad ordered his companions, saying, "Come forward and behead him." Nasr bin Harsha Zababi came forward and repeatedly struck at the neck of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. Omar bin Saad was enraged and signaling to a man standing on his right side said, "Woe be to you, go forward and relieve Hussein." Holy bin Yazid, may Allah enter him in the fire of hell eternally, came forward and beheaded him. Dainuri says that Sinan bin Aus Nakhai thrust a lance at him and threw him down, and then Holy bin Yazid Asbahi stepped forward to behead him. His hands trembled and his brother Shabal bin Yazid beheaded him and gave it to his brother Holy. Ibn Abid Rabbah says that Sinan bin Anas killed him and Holy bin Yazid Asbahi, who was from the clan of Hamir, ended his life by beheading him. He took his head to Ubaidullah and said, "Fill my stirrup with abundant wealth," as will be quoted later. It is related from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, that when a stroke was dealt upon Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, he fell off his horse and they ran to behead him. A voice sounded from the heavens, "O the nation which has become obstinate and turned astray after passing away of their Prophet, may Allah not bestow upon you the grace of fasting and the Eid of Fitr." Then he said, "Therefore, by Allah, they have not prospered, nor shall they thrive until the seeker of revenge, that is Imam Mahdi, for Imam Hussein arrives." Ibn Qawlawayh Qummi relates from Halabi, who in turn relates from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, that when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was martyred, someone called out in the Kufan army. When he was reprimanded for it, he said, "Why should I not cry when I see the Prophet of Allah standing at one time he looks at the earth and another time at your battle, and I fear lest he imprecate upon the dwellers of the earth and you would be damned." The Kufan army said, "He is insane," while the repentants among them said, "By Allah, what have we done to ourselves? We killed the master of the youth of paradise for the sake of the son of Sumayya." Then they revolted against Ubaidullah, and their situation reached such as ought to be. The narrator says that I asked them, "May I be your ransom? Who was the caller?" They replied, "We presume it was Jibra'il." In the narration of Mashhadi, it is related that Salma went to the presence of Salma, peace be upon her, while she was weeping. He asked, "What makes you weep?" She replied, "I saw the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him, and his pure progeny in a dream, and his head and beard were smeared with dust. I asked, 'O Prophet of Allah, what has happened to you that you are smeared in dust?' He replied, 'Just now I have witnessed the murder of my Hussein.'" It is related in Sawaik-e-Muhrika of Ibn Hajar that one of the signs that appeared on the day of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was that the heaven turned dark, so much so that the stars were visible during the daytime, and whichever stone was lifted up, fresh blood was found beneath it. And it is also said that the heavens turned red due to his martyrdom, and the sun pitch black. The stars became visible during the daytime, while the men presumed that the day of resurrection had arrived, and on that day, whichever stone was lifted up in Syria, fresh blood appeared beneath it.